Hi friends, Prepared Suburbanite here. Welcome back everyone. Has anybody ever said to you, or have you actually maybe said it to yourself, it sure will be nice when things get back to normal? What I'd like to do in this video is talk about what the new normal really might look like. So stick around. There's 5 or 6 topics that I think we need to be aware of in the new normal. And whenever the new normal actually starts, we may be actually living in part of the new normal right now. But the first is we're going to experience, as we have been experiencing, a contracted economy. I think we may be officially, or very close to it, in a recession. Recently it was announced that the gross domestic product had been on a downward trend to the tune, on an annualized basis, of about 32%. That's the biggest drop in GDP ever recorded. So that's pretty discouraging. Thankfully, it's somewhat temporary, but because it is temporary, we have to deal with it. And here's how we've been dealing with it and how I expect we're going to be dealing with it under the new normal. We're going to have fewer choices. We're going to have higher costs, particularly things like food, building materials, stuff like that. On the bright side, lower prices right now in transportation costs, gasoline, fuel oil, that kind of stuff. I'll get into some numbers there. Unless something is done at the federal level or even at the state level, evictions are going to start kicking in. There's going to be a lot of people displaced. The supply chain disruptions that we've experienced over the last few weeks and months even are going to get a little bit better for a short period of time, and then I think it's really going to start tanking off. There are, together with the contracted economy, the job losses and the opportunity losses that kind of go along with it. The unemployment rate last time I checked was 10.2%, and that was numbers just recently released this week, I think. There's still millions and millions and millions of people who have lost their jobs that are counting on unemployment compensation, unemployment insurance from the state, and some even from the federal government. It's pretty tough right now. So the economic constriction, together with job and opportunity losses, is something that I think we're going to end up having to deal with. I can't say we want to get used to it, but we're going to deal with it in the same fashion that we're dealing with it now. And how are we dealing with it? Well, when you've got supply chain disruptions, you've got fewer choices, you've got higher costs, you're going to need to be stocking up on your basic food stores, food supplies, cooking supplies, all that kind of stuff that you're going to need to survive when things really start getting bad under the new normal. It's been, let's see, since the end of March, since I've actually seen my family together, with one exception. We all got together for a few hours one Sunday afternoon about 5 weeks ago. Spent some quality time, had a little cookout, And then that was it. Things started actually getting a little bit worse and worse and worse. The case count started going up, death rates started going back up, and everybody in my family decided to just back off and take it easy. And you know what? I miss getting together with the family. I miss having cookouts. I miss getting together with my kids and my grandkids and swapping stories and just enjoying a day, doing a cookout, that kind of a thing. And I really do miss it. And I think that's part of what the new normal is going to end up having to be, is that we're still going to have to maintain all kinds of social distancing and isolations from our loved ones, and that's not a good thing for mental health. I'm in that restricted group, I guess, because I'm well over 60, and I do have some of the complicating medical factors, heart condition, diabetic, that kind of stuff, and it's tough. So I've been sort of extra careful. We don't go out anymore. We haven't been to a restaurant since the whole thing all started. We have done a couple of times takeout, but most of the stuff that we're doing is right here at home. We're not going anywhere except a weekly run to either the wholesale club or to the grocery store to pick up supplies and stuff like that, and basically we're just filling in some gaps here and there. Stuff like milk and eggs and that kind of thing is what we're spending our money on. And I've heard it talked about as minimalism or sustainable purchasing. How's that for a great little word? But along with the constricted economy, job and opportunity losses, the lockdown that I expect is going to continue for a long time, where you can't get into restaurants, where you can't go to church, where we're even under the quarantines now. Some of the governors and mayors of states and cities are starting to impose penalties for either not wearing a mask, for not complying with a quarantine. If you've tested positive and you're told to stay home, they're putting folks on ankle bracelets that I've heard and stuff like that. So the police state is really there. I think one of the other conditions that we're going to have to really come to grips with and hopefully figure out a way to fight it off is the move towards socialism. Everybody right now is looking to the federal government and the state governments to solve all their problems for them, to tell them what to do, tell them where to go, tell them where not to go, tell them how many people can be together, provide for this or provide for that. And when the citizenry looks to the government to solve the problems, you've got, it's kind of upside down. That's not what I don't think our federal government's really for. Yeah, there's words in the Constitution called the welfare of the public or the welfare of the people, and what they can do, yep, maybe reduce taxes, that kind of stuff, but for everybody to look to them to say it's okay to go back to school, it's okay to gather in groups of more than 10 or more than 20 or whatever they're doing, I think it's steps closer to autonomic tyranny in a sense as it stands right now. I think our freedoms are being restricted. Obviously, our First Amendments and Second Amendment freedoms, the illegal search and seizure kinds of things that are going on. It's pretty tough. There's a number of examples, and I don't want to get into them too much on both the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, but as we inch closer to socialism here, we will be inching farther away from maintaining all our freedoms and liberties. So keep that in mind as you prepare for the new normal. Ernst & Young released a study. I just read it this morning, and a couple of major points that they made in there is plan for the unthinkable. Now, last January, it was unthinkable to come to the realization that church services would be curtailed to the extent that they're curtailed because of this kind of a pandemic. It was unthinkable to realize that you'd be out of toilet paper and paper towels and basic food things like eggs and milk and stuff like that because there were supply chain disruptions. It was unthinkable. Everybody just got so used to normalcy bias that they could just go to the store and everything would be all taken care of for them. But that's not the way the new normal is working. So planning for the unthinkable. Did you think that there would be an air travel reduction of near 96%? Gee, I don't think so. They canceled flights all over the place. But anyway, that's one of the things that you need to keep in the back of your mind as you're putting your plans together for dealing with the new normal, is planning for the unthinkable. The stuff that's going on in Portland and Seattle and some of the other major cities around, the civil unrest, the riots, organized chaos, the militant groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter, the organization, all the calls for social justice, all the calls for ridding society of systemic racism, that's going to continue, and I think there's going to be a crescendo of activity with respect to civil unrest, rioting, and all that. What's going to happen on November 3rd when the election occurs? I don't know who's going to win, but I can almost guarantee everybody that's watching this video that there will be continued civil unrest well past the election, no matter who wins. COVID-19 is here to stay. I don't think it's going to go away. I don't think what we have been experiencing is just going to magically disappear. I think our fearless president made that assertion a while ago and was basically vilified for it because it's not magically going to go away. We've been counting new cases, we've been counting deaths, we've been counting anecdotal cases of a 6-year-old here or a 10-year-old there, schools that opened and then all of a sudden there was a bunch of people that tested positive, all that kind of stuff. Well, COVID-19, COVID-20, COVID-21, whatever form it may take, it may mutate, we may get stronger, we may get weaker strains of the virus, but we're going to have to deal with this pandemic in its current form and its mutated forms for a long time in the future. So be prepared for that. Make sure you've got plenty of PPE on hand, the face masks, the shields now that they're beginning to recommend, gloves, hand sanitizers, all kinds of Clorox cleaning wipes, all that kind of stuff. If you find them now, now's the time to buy them, now's the time to stock up on them, because the supply chain isn't going to be that reliable in the future. The other thing that we're going to miss is a lot of the social activities that we really did look forward to. I used to love football. College football on Saturdays, the NFL on Sundays, basketball games here and there, a little bit of hockey every once in a while, baseball, if we could do it. But going to the games was really a special treat. And going to a Major League Baseball park on a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon and catching a doubleheader with your favorite teams, we're not doing it anymore. Going to an NFL game or even watching an NFL game at your local sports bar, Can't do it anymore because you can only have like 20% of the capacity of the bar or the restaurant or the saloon where you can sit and actually watch the game with a bunch of friends and have a good time on a Sunday afternoon. It just isn't happening anymore. That's not to say that it may begin to happen in certain very restricted kind of modes, but there are way too many sports venues that are being canceled left and right, no fans in the stands. It's just not going to be the same. So what can we do? Stock up now. Make your list of stuff that you're going to need, food stores that you're going to have, water filtration, water purification, the tablets, the filter systems, that kind of stuff. Spend some money now while you've still got it to do that. If you've been affected because of a job loss or an opportunity lost, there's a lot of contractors, what do they call them, gig contractors, that just can't get the work anymore, and it's tough on them. So if you're in that kind of a situation, look around to see what kind of skills you can develop, what kind of skills you may need to have. If you're a CPA, if you're an accountant, if you're whatever, maybe learning how to do small engine repair, maybe learning how to do welding, that kind of stuff. And there are places that you can still pick those kind of skills up right now. So take a look at what options you have to develop new skills so that you may have a source of income under the new normal. With regard to the civil unrest issues, I would think that you're going to need to make sure that you have proper means of self-defense, that you're well trained in those methods of self-defense, and that you've taken steps to secure your property, the house you live in, your homestead, whatever, so that you can attain a higher level of safety and security for your home and for yourself and your family. Not going to get into a lot of detail, but make sure that you are well trained, that you've got the equipment that you need to stay safe and secure as the civil unrest that I suspect is going to continue and possibly even get much, much worse under the new normal. Restricted travel, inflation, those are some of the other kinds of things. You can't go into New York City now from, I don't know, probably at least a dozen different states. You can't even go through New York City without being stopped at checkpoints, having your temperature taken, just whatever. Travel is very restricted. It's tough to not go. It's tough to be able to go anywhere. The cost is becoming prohibitive. So be prepared. Find stuff to do right in your own house, right in your own backyard, to keep yourself busy so you don't have to travel. This is the Prepared Suburbanite reminding you that the new normal is on its way. So be prepared always, and I'll see you all on the next video.